G'day guys, it is Ben here from Hunt the Night. What we're going to do today is talk a little bit about the importance of base magnification and understanding how and what you shoot. Now this video might be choppy because I don't know if I can do it all in one take. So I might be cutting it in and out, but hopefully you guys won't notice that when I go through my mad editing skills. And the reason why I want to talk about this today is because people call me all the time and say, hey, what is the best scope for me? Well, the best scope for you is the one that's the right scope for you, okay? There is no best scope. And to help demonstrate it today, what I've got here is I've got my Pulsar XP 50 Trail 2, which is a very expensive high-end scope. I have my HIC Micro Thunder 35 and my Ricoh RL 42. Now, the reason I've chosen these three scopes, you're going to see because we're going to do some demo stuff today. And you'll see that footage and we'll talk about it as it comes up. The reason I've chosen these three is because these two here are both a 2x magnification scope. So they start at 2 base magnification. They go from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16, okay? The HIC Micros is a 384 base sensor and the Pulsar Trail 2 is a 640. The RL42 here is a 384 sensor, but it starts at 4, and it actually goes from 4, 8 to 12 to 16 magnification. Now, most scopes would actually skip that 12. Having that half step in there is pretty cool. Now, you might go, okay, but why is that important? And the reason I say this, guys, is because base magnification is where your scope performs the best. As soon as you start zooming, you start to lose image quality. And there's obviously more things that are going to influence what we're talking about today, but purely we're talking about the simple stuff, okay? I'm not going to get into other things like, objective lens size and everything else. We're just going to start with why base magnification is important, okay? Firstly, it comes down to how you shoot and what you shoot, because you want your sensor performing at the optimum for whatever level of zoom you shoot at, okay? And what I mean by that is if your average shooting is 150 meters for a fox, then you want a scope that performs well at 150 meters, because that's your best, your most common shooting range. So at 150 meters is where your scope should start performing its best. If you shoot at 30 meters and you're shooting rabbits, then you want something that performs well at 30 meters, as well, but can get out a little bit further if you need to. And the reason I say that is because field of view at 30 meters and 50 meters are two different things. So your base magnification requirements are going to be different. The way I look at it is like this. When I'm out in the field, if I'm shooting foxes, and you've all seen me miss a few lately, I'm going to want something a bit more base magnification because I'm going to be shooting about that 100, 150 meters. So I like to use something with about 4x base magnification. So if I'm shooting at around that 50 meters, then I'm going to want something personally with a little bit of wider field of view. Okay, and it can either be this one or this one. Now, I'm going to put some footage up here at 50 meters and you're going to see some chickens. And you're going to see what I mean by field of view. The RL42 is definitely tighter in terms of what it can see than these two. But as we start to zoom in, you'll see what I mean in terms of why it's important to pick a scope starting at the distance that you shoot. Because at 50 meters in 2 times, I can shoot pretty much with any of these scopes. The Pulsar does it probably best because it's got the 640 sensor, and that 640 sensor is working at its best right now. As soon as that 640 sensor starts to zoom in, it's, at 4 times, it's now a 320 sensor. At 16 times, it gets down to an 80 sensor, okay? So every time we double the zoom, we halve the quality of sensor, and that's true for all 3 scopes here. So at 2 times zoom, this one's going to perform better than this one as it starts to zoom. It's as simple as that. But the question is, how good does the image need to be? If you can shoot in base magnification, which is what I try and aim to do, then do you need something that's $8,500 over $3,000? Check the price, our website, obviously, for our current prices, but there's a huge discrepancy in pricing between these two. How good does the image quality need to be? Sure, the RL42 is a little bit tighter, but it's still, you can still shoot at 50 meters with something in 4 base magnification. Now, let's step it out to 100 meters. And now you can really start to see the difference and why I personally select something with more base magnification at 100 meters. My objective in the field is to shoot as much as I can on base magnification. Now I'm lucky, I've got lots of different scopes. So when I'm doing different types of jobs, I can choose between a 2 power or a 4 power or a 3 power or something like that. Not everyone gets the opportunity to do that, which is why it's important to understand what are my shooting needs. If I'm shooting at 150 meters, what do I feel comfortable on shooting at 150 meters in terms of zoom power? They're the things you got to be thinking about, guys, because once you figure out what is the base magnification I want, you can start to figure out what scopes are in my budget, what scopes are better than others, you know, what are the other things I can look for, you know, in terms of features and so on. You can start to narrow it down. But until you understand what your base magnification needs to be, then you're kind of lost. You know, you're kind of just going to guess. And you're probably going to buy something and you're going to try it and go, it's not the best experience I've had. Now, yes, some of you are going to say, yeah, but what about if I, you know, why would I want to start at 4 if I can start at 2? Because I want to, you know, a wider field of view so I can see more. That's not a consideration I personally have. I never use my scope for spotting. And the reason I don't is because I start pointing my rifle in the direction it shouldn't be. I have a monocular. I've got a thermal monocular and I use that for spotting because I can point that in any direction I want without ever causing a safety issue. Now, yes, your gun's going to be safe, but man, if someone walks out of their, you know, shed because you're shooting on a farm and they see a barrel pointing at them, they don't feel real comfortable about that. Well, I certainly wouldn't anyway. So, you know, I never use it. Treat your scope as a scope. It is not a monocular. It shouldn't be pointed, your rifle shouldn't be pointed in directions that it shouldn't be. You know, that's the way I see it. And those things can change quickly. So understand your requirements. Figure out what base magnification you need because you want your scope performing the best. And it performs the best when it's on base magnification because that is when you're getting the full value out of the sensor and the scope that you've bought. It isn't the best when it starts zooming because you start dropping its ability to use the full value of the sensor. Okay, guys, I hope that makes sense. Any questions? And I will happily answer them.